So I already gave you part 1, and then I went and gave you part 2. Well, this is part 3 in the final installment on the Sandy Cat's truck. So to see the rest of this, you're going to want to sit back, you're going to want to relax, and you're going to want to check this out.
Welcome to jailbreak.
Nice. Nice. Thank you, ladies. Because YouTube's algorithm favors certain channels and not others, I'm going to ask you to hit that subscribe button as well as the little bell next to it so you are notified of all new videos. Here we go. So here it is, the final installment of the 3-part series on Sandy Cat's 5th generation ultimate 4Runner build. Now after this build, I'm going to do my final walk around video of my truck, which nobody has seen as of yet, because there is a lot of drama, there's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, and it's going to be a long video, but it's going to be worth watching. Also, because of the claim in the title, this 4Runner can beat a Land Cruiser, Oleg and I have decided to pick one subscriber from each channel that owns a Land Cruiser to run against our rigs this January in Arizona. I'll put out more details in the final video on my truck, but time to put the money where the mouth is. At any rate, part 3, here we go. Oleg, this is, what year is this exactly?
2019.
So this is exactly the same as mine. 4.0, automatic, same. What did you do under here?
Under the hood is a lot. So first let's start supercharger. Magnuson supercharger on this. And then on top of the supercharger, I also have a Yoda Works tune, which is something new that they offer now for the supercharger for rigs with 37s. Right now, I feel like
When did you get that done?
A month ago, 2 months ago, right?
I need the number.
I'll give you the
because
number.
the guys down in Georgia canceled on me.
I'll give you the number.
Okay,
so
cool.
they just created it. I think he's the first one that did it for like.
Is there a transmission tune as well?
Nope. Not for 2019. My wife's 2021. I put
All
a
right.
transmission tune, and it's so cool. You know why? Because you know when you go into S mode, now she can lock it. She goes in third, it's locked in third. Second
Wow.
but on the 19, you can't do that.
All right.
Which sucks. But
Okay, so you got, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to sidetrack you, but Magnuson supercharger, Yoda Works tune on it, and is it noticeable?
it is. I mean, just like we were talking, like I can't tell you if it's noticeable because I built this with a supercharger, right? So I didn't have this weight, and then I added the supercharger. I feel that it does help a lot. Once I put that tune going up certain hills, I felt that it helped. It helped a lot. That's all I can say. If I would do all this again, I would put the supercharger in again. So maybe that answers the question.
Okay, that's fair enough, because
Yeah.
I was just saying the opposite until you pointed out the weight. So you're right.
So that's how I look at it. And then let's just go simple. Air. My air system is the ARB dual, which is pretty fast. I'm happy with it. I have a front and rear air locker, ARB air lockers for front and rear. And then I also have my air system for my airbags. And then, so that's my whole air system. So my air intake system is the AFE cold air intake. And
You did a ton of research on this. Have at it.
So, I mean, super short version, I wanted a snorkel. I'm not a big fan of the way the snorkel looks, to be honest with you. I don't even like a snorkel. But I did a 6-day trip in Baja, and by day 3, I'm changing out my filter every day. And when I get back on the highway to, after the border and going 80 miles an hour, I feel my engine struggling.
Right, you mentioned that.
I killed it. I feel like I heard the engine bad, and I felt like that's because I don't have a snorkel. I'm not getting cleaner air up high. So at that point, I realized I need a snorkel. Needing a snorkel, I also want a bigger filter. And the options there aren't that many options because I wanted a box that I could keep open on the highway. So if you could see, there's an opening there that I can seal whenever I want.
Now, unless you were going to say it, I don't mean to interrupt, but this was valuable information because I had 3, when I got my supercharger for my truck, the truck's torn apart, I got to do this.
Yep.
Truck's torn apart in the driveway. I'm screwed. I just bought it. It's brand new. I got 3 intakes because I didn't know which one would actually tie into the Safari and work.
Yep.
I had the AFE and didn't do it.
Yep.
So I did whatever you did wrong. I ended up with the TRD, which gives you a very minimal filter for the build, I believe, because this gives you almost, what is it, 200 and something % more surface area.
So I don't know what the percentage is, but it's probably more than that. But what's cool about this is I could switch filters. So there's the blue filter and the yellow filter. The yellow filter is basically the same thing that you run on a farm tractor. So that yellow filter is 7-ply, and then you can go to a 5-ply or a 3-ply filter.
The lower the ply, the more it breathes.
The more it breathes, but the more dust that gets in.
Gotcha.
So if you're going to go Baja wheeling,
put the
7-ply in. You're
Right.
not going 80 anyways. And if you're going to be running on the highway 90% of the time, put the 5-ply in. 3-ply I would never put in, but put a 5-ply.
Nice.
But that, first of all, I like that option that I have. And I think AFE is the only one that goes up to the 7-ply, which was important to me. So on my Jeep, Rip Mod superchargers, they did some testing on my rig when they were developing a supercharger back in like 2008. And we had one issue, and that issue came down to not getting enough horsepower over a certain speed on the highway. And we realized that that's because of after like 65, 70 miles an hour, the way the air went around the snorkel. So we actually drilled holes in the back of the snorkel, and that let more air get sucked into the snorkel and made everything breathe better. So I don't want to drill into my snorkel here. Therefore, I wanted a box that has the option to keep open on the highway so I can get air from multiple locations and never, not give enough air to the engine. And I could close it when I go off-road because I'm not going 80 anyways. I feel like I have the perfect combination.
You do, and I mean, you did the testing to back it up. It's not just theoretical. So
yeah, to merge the snorkel with the AFE, I just went to Home Depot. I got a bunch of flex tape and I made it work. Silicone and flex tape.
Cool. Cool. I mean, the only time that's going to be an issue is if you actually go through a river, over your
I even tested that.
Right.
The only time it's going to be an issue is if I ever got to take it apart.
That's the thing. Everybody likes to break balls about snorkels.
Yep.
Oh, the dorkle, this, that. You're going to be crossing water. It's like crossing water is like one of the things you can do. But the main thing is
air.
When you're out in this dry shit, you're not sucking everything up like a Hoover, man. You got a snorkel doing its job. That's what it's for.
Yep. And you go underwater. I hate water. I hate mud, anyways. But I'll do it if I have to. I also put a cyclone thing on my snorkel. I don't know if you've ever seen those.
You
big
did.
cyclones.
No,
I
showed
have
me,
them over there.
And they're no bueno, right?
So for me, it was no bueno. The testing I did, it showed me that it doesn't work. I've seen other people get different results. I think it's based on the particles, the size of the particles. The particles around Southern California, it didn't help me in any way, but I felt that on the highway, it limited my air intake. So I got rid of it.
When you're saying particles, you're talking like
super fine particles.
Like in Moab, some places the sand is actually like talcum powder.
Yep.
And then you go to other places and the sand is like beach sand.
Yep.
That's what you mean.
Yep.
Okay, just clarify.
So I've seen people do experiments with the talcum powder, super fine sand. It actually works. But when I experimented here, it didn't help at all, and it limited the airflow. So I wasn't happy with it.
Cool. That makes sense.
I'm just being honest. So then, electrical here, I have 2 switch panels. I have the Switch Pro, and then I have an Amazon $150 one. The only reason I bought the Switch Pro is I wanted to see the difference between like $1,000 or whatever it cost and a $150 one. Other than being able to do flashy lights and like techno stuff, which I don't do.
I have 2 S-Pods now. I don't do the RGB, LBGTQ, whatever it's called.
Honestly, I do Amazon all day long. I don't really see a difference. I'm happy with the Amazon one. They've never failed me.
That's because you also have access to overseas manufacturing places that most people don't. You see the difference in real life.
Yeah.
So,
so just so you know, my lockers, my air systems are all wired to my Amazon one. That's how much I trust it. And I put my lights on my Switch Pro.
See, my lockers are E-lockers. So my rear locker is on a panel switch.
Yep.
And I had lockers put in, front locker put in at Stellar Built, and they put it on my S-Pod. They never actually mentioned it to me. I had to go back and say, hey, where's the switch? And they were like, oh, I don't know if I love it on there. Because what if it fails and my locker is locked or unlocked?
Agreed. Well,
do you know what I'm saying?
Well, with the e-locker, I don't even know how to answer. With the air locker, I just have to cut the air hose.
Well, I can get underneath it, cut the wire, and jump it out myself. But
I trusted. The point is, I trusted that much. I don't have that concern, honestly.
I liked the work that you did on the wiring in the back.
Thank you.
Same as me. I did the stretchy snake loom stuff.
Yep,
I brought it to a Toyota dealer after I supercharged it and everything. I brought it in for whatever reason. I think I was having them flush my tranny fluid before I figured out how to do it. And they opened the hood and they're like, "Who did this?" And I was like, "A guy I know." I didn't want to say me because I didn't want them going, "Well, you avoided the warranty or anything." But it was very cool that they were like, "Holy shit!" They were impressed. I didn't want it to look like anybody worked on it. And then when I had somebody else work on it, now you can tell someone else worked on it. You know.
I agree, especially with electrical. You should be doing your own electrical. Cause
if you don't know the electrical, dead in the water.
Yep, 100%.
I completely agree. And the biggest thing is research it, go overboard, and make sure those joints are tight because you don't hear a fire. You don't hear a fire till it's too late. 100%. You know what I mean?
I try to solder as much as I could. I did.
How many rigs have we seen burned to the ground? Everyone's like, it took 30 seconds. Well, because you got gas, diesel, propane.
Yeah.
So, carry Halon, dude.
So this bracket was a pain for me to build for this. And the reason why I spent, 15 hours on this one bracket, just so you know. And the reason why I did that is because everybody sells brackets like over the fuse box.
I know.
And that is the stupidest thing in the world.
Yeah.
Because I'm my wife's Forerunner, for example, I had a fuse blow. And it went into like stall mode where I couldn't drive over 5 miles an hour from some fuse that blew off-road. If I can't access my fuse box fast, it's useless.
Right.
So I made my own bracket because I didn't want to use the other brackets that go over the fuse box. That's another word of advice. That's pretty much that for electrical.
Did you put the supercharger in first and then the switches?
Yeah, supercharger in first.
So this was in?
This was here, and I had to rebuild the bracket for this.
Build it back out? Yep. Okay, because I did the same exact
I watched your YouTube video. Just so you know,
that was a pain,
when I was trying to figure out how to move this, I watched this YouTube video to figure out it.
Well, because my pump is in a totally different spot.
Yeah, and that's pretty much that with this. And then let's talk about cooling. So my biggest issue with Forerunners, or Toyotas in general,
Toyotas in general, 80s too,
is the transmission cooling. And I did experiments for myself out of curiosity. First, I'll get the scan gauge. You know that you swear by them too, so you already know. But get the scan gauge and monitor your transmissions cooling. My wife's Forerunner, I bought her a stock Forerunner, and I put skid plates on the bottom, the aluminum ones, because I went to go do testing on them. But I had everything stock tires, stock everything. I drove up pavement up to Big Bear, just a paved road up to Big Bear. We've been there, and I got the tranny driving in drive mode, not S mode, up to 240 degrees, halfway up.
I wish I had blurted it out. I already knew you were going to say 240, because after I was only on 35s, everything was fine. I'm coming from an 80 series, and I'm thinking my tranny temperature being 240 is good.
Yep.
I'm thinking that's not that hot. I go to a Toyota shop, and they're like, "Dude, you just blew your tranny," and I'm like, "No, it's good." I happen to have changed my fluid, even though they said it's lifetime. There's no such thing as lifetime transmission fluid. I don't believe that. Not on a rig like this.
I 100% agree with you.
Not on a rig like 100%. This.
So yeah, I like the new Scan Gauge 3 because I can set an alarm. So now at 210 degrees, it starts beeping at me. I love that. I'll show you how to do it if you don't know.
Oh, I've got my scan gauge. When I turn my head, my scan gauge is right there. The first thing I want to know, I want to know is transmission.
Yep. So
I've got a massive cooler I put in after the fact. You went a different route.
Yep.
You went crazy.
Yep.
But it's working.
It's working, right? I'm shocked.
But it was all theory too. You were doing this on paper.
Yep. I went overkill, and the overkill worked. So I'll kind of talk about that. First thing I did was I re-geared to try to solve the problem. Because I had the supercharger, I didn't re-gear. Re-gearing helped by about 15% of my cooling, but it still didn't solve the problem.
Especially not with 37s.
Yeah, this is when I was on 34s, it helped, but I was still going to 220. Then everybody told me to get I'm going to pull this off right now to show. Everybody told me to get the CSF radiator.
That's what
and it didn't help at all. Zero.
Okay, that's two of us. And we've got, yours doesn't have as many miles, mine does. Yeah. The CSF radiator, I've already had to change the radiator cap once because it just disintegrated, and there's no difference at all whatsoever.
Yeah, maybe it helps with longevity, I don't know.
I hope so.
But it didn't help with cooling.
It looked cool. It looked cool in the box. It was, I was stoked. Look at that. It's all shiny, good to go. I'm noticing zero difference, so that's two of us.
So I ended up shoving, and you can't see all of them, and I don't know what you'll see with the GoPro, but I ended up shoving 3 transmission coolers in here. Actually, no, 4 transmission coolers in here and a fan. So there's one here, one in between these two, another one here, and then a long one over here.
So you've got the CSF Racing, you've got the intercooler for the supercharger stacked.
Yep.
You've got transmission cooler, transmission cooler, transmission cooler,
And transmission cooler.
and transmission cooler right here.
Yep. And a fan. The fan isn't necessary, but what I saw is when I don't like to drive in 4 low if I could avoid it, because I'm trying to conserve gas miles because I'm doing very long trails.
Right.
So I do tend to, on super slow hill climbs, sometimes it gets hot, and that's when I could have an extra button, the fan. The fan helps me cool it down. And then over here I have another cooler with a fan, and that's for my power steering. So the power steering cooler is over there with a fan, and then I have 4 transmission coolers with a fan over here. And right now it solved the problem. I don't know what I'm doing, but it works.
Because on 37-inch tires with 7,500 pounds rolling,
Yep.
I can still do 85 up a mountain.
Yep.
I don't. I try not to. Last time I did, I almost crashed into an 18-wheeler by accident, but it's amazing how they go. And I mean, with the proper transmission cooling, because apparently these are easy to boil and smoke. They'll destroy your tranny, and they're hard to get, apparently.
And I can't think of one thing I'm not happy about or I regret about this build, as of right now, so far.
You see, I think I'm in the same boat. I mean, I wish I had done a bit of research, but it is what it is. I always thought that the 4Runner with the V6 would get better mileage than my 80. That's on me.
Well, I'll answer that. With this build, I do, now that I know what I know and I have a 22 GX460, well, the company does, I wish I would have done all this on that GX460. Because I could have, every single thing here I could have done exactly. A GX460 is a 4Runner.
Right, no, I know.
With a V8. I wish I would have started with a V8.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I kind of regret, because I didn't go with V8 because I didn't want that much weight. But now that I have the RCLT kit, I could handle the weight of a V8, and I could have done all this on that. And I would have had nicer leather. My leather's pretty nice.
Your leather's one of a kind, so.
But that's it. Yeah, I'm super stoked.
Let's look at the pilot's cockpit here.
I mean, pretty
You
simple.
have a Jeep on your Toyotas?
I do.
Why? Okay, what's going on there?
My son put that on. He thinks it's a Jeep. I love it. I don't know.
You got to pass. All right.
All right. Scan gauge right there. This is my secondary navigation. My primary one is here, and then this is my switch for my all my systems, which
is that the Switch Pro or the Amazon?
This is the Amazon one.
It's not a bad set. Are those tactile, like click click?
Yeah.
See, I had the touchscreen from S-Plod, which is a very expensive option. I got rid of it.
So yeah, I mean, radio, rear, front locker, air, my coolers, and this. I actually have a kill switch for all my traction control. I had to cut the wires and put that on. It's from Dr. KDSS.
Yep.
But if you're killing all your traction control and you're going over 30, it still pops on. This lets me kill it completely, so that's cool. Then I have my other switch, my Switch Pros over here with all my lights, blah blah blah. And I mean, that's pretty much it. My radio's here. I like this setup because I could just kind of control it easily.
And it works for you.
It works. Everything works.
So you're talking to a guy with no back seat at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's nice to see you have your full interior. I think I've told this story before on this channel, but tell us about this, without a doubt, one of a kind interior.
I mean, this is leather. The back's, I went to a leather guy, a friend of mine, and I'm like, I want the coolest leather, period.
But this is old school. This is, you don't see stuff like this. This guy had skills, am I wrong?
Yeah, this is all hand stitched.
Mexican?
No, he was white.
No kidding.
But hand stitched everything, and he pretty much, he had to order the cow from Australia with a certain wrinkle pattern for this leather. This was supposed to be for him to do a SEMA thing like 3 years ago, but SEMA was canceled because of COVID, so that's what happened. But what I also got is perforator or whatever, holes in the front seats. I got air-conditioned front seats, bro.
Where did you get air-conditioned seats?
Because we put in all this leather, we made the holes in, so we put the system in here, and bam, air-conditioned seats.
Wow.
Uh-huh.
It's beautiful, too. I mean, it matches perfectly. Because I gotta say, I mean, I've spent way too much money on having custom seats made for the Green Monster, man.
And then here, so the biggest thing that for me, oh, by the way, this is the button. That's my secondary tank. That's the button for it.
Okay.
It tells me how much gas I have in there too. By the way. It's red, so I have no gas in there. I put an air system in here. So the air system, I gotta turn the air on, and I could pump up my air.
I could already see it. I could see it out of the corner of my eye. Yep.
So I could pump up my which is nice. I put that in for the highway. I figured I'm so heavy and I'm going to fluctuate in weight so much on the highway, I want to be able to use it.
Well, let me say this. You saw my airbags 1 week after Stella Built installed them. 1 week later, they both burst because they didn't install them correctly. They didn't put the base plates in, so the axle just cut them.
Yep.
Whatever. I put the 849s in, or 879s, one of the two, from Dobinson. I don't need airbags anymore, and neither will you. But you guys just discovered something. Did you know this was going to happen?
No.
That you were going to be able to use the airbags to help you do the Rubicon.
No.
Is that accurate to say?
I mean, that's what happened. So basically, I put it in for the highway, and I realized I don't need it on the highway. They're useless on the highway because they stiffen you up so much, it doesn't help. The other thing that I was told by this one guy, there's a shop out in Orange County called KZN Offroad or something like that. Suspension genius. Talked to him on the phone for an hour. He's a genius, and he told me airbags are bad because when you deflate them, not all the air comes out. So you're not going to get full up travel from them because the hole is so small for the air to come out. It will never happen. Because the only way to deflate these is by pressing the button. It deflates, and then when you stop pressing the button, it stops deflating. Anyways, long story short, I went in the Rubicon, loved the airbags, and figured out how to make them fully deflate 100%.
So let's say this for a stupid person like me. So you're on a trail.
Yep.
You're in the truck. The truck's lifted, and you are scared to death. You're at full pucker. You can actually inflate the airbags and alleviate some of that stress because it rights the truck, even though the axles are...
All of it. It's
crazy.
And that's what I discovered.
Did you ever think of that in the beginning?
I thought about that, but I didn't think it was going to be such an impact. I thought it was going to be like a gadget or whatever.
See, I was just thinking of this strictly as load bearing.
It was two things. It was that, what you just mentioned, and the difference that I saw was insane. But also, it's climbing waterfalls. When you're climbing waterfalls like this, and sometimes your tires don't want to grab because you have so much weight, and my coils aren't strong enough because I don't have the 849s in.
I do.
You do. When I put the airbags in, when I put the airbags up, I get more pressure and it gives me more traction on my tires on a waterfall too.
That is crazy.
So by day one on the Rubicon Trail, I didn't use the airbags. I forgot about them completely. Day two, I remembered about them a little bit here and there, and by the end of day two, I'm literally pressing these buttons every 5 minutes. We're using this more than lockers, and it just makes my ride so much better. And I'm watching all the 80 series in front of me; they're all like sideways.
I know they. Oh yes.
And I'm going straight, and I'm like, wow, this is genius. Everybody started calling me G-Wagon suspension or something like that.
Yeah, but G-Wagon suspension isn't. I mean, they say it's made for off-road, but I've seen the suspension up close. We'd break it.
But it's genius.
That's
I
sick.
love it. And keep in mind, I know I'm abusing my airbags, but I look.
You
at
are
it
abusive.
I look at it as
I was going to talk to you about
eventually
that.
It'll pop. I'll put a new one in there. $50. Who cares? But it works. So the other genius thing that I did was this button over here. So I basically put a toggle switch on each airbag. When I press it, it's always deflating. By it always deflating, now when I get on a rock, I can
force the last amount of air out so it can't stay trapped.
And I get full stuff.
Dude.
That's what I love, this toggle thing.
You love stuffing.
So yeah.
So anyway. In this video, we are officially handing over the Green Monster hashtag from my 80 to this truck. Because it is the Green Monster. And I'm glad you built it, dude. No, I'm just saying, when I walked in, I'm like, that looks just like my 80, dude. This truck is insane. Absolutely insane. And the best thing about it, might not be the best thing for a businessman or whatever, but I would do it. Blowing off semen to do the Rubicon instead. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. You know what I mean? Because there's too many guys, let's go park our trucks and drink coffee and talk about them. Hey, let's go hit a trail. No, I just clean the truck and everything. And you definitely live this, man.
I'm happy, and I'll tell you this.
So, real quick. So just by building this, all these other things, the ropes, the shower system, it all just came to pass because there were things you were making for yourself, and you're like, hey, I can do this better than what is being done now.
I mean, the shower systems came because I did what I needed for myself. It was only for myself.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and then I made a video and I told people to do it and they didn't want to do it. The ropes came because I saw deficiencies in the market.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you straight up right now, and I'm not gonna lie, Bubba Ropes is the best. I'm not the best.
I have Bubba Ropes.
But Bubba Ropes is $400 or $300 or whatever, depending on the rope. Whereas our ropes are 75% cheaper. So if you're not gonna go buy a $400 rope and you're gonna go buy a $150 rope, ours is going to be the best. I can promise you that.
And to back that up, to bolster that a little bit, Maybe it's because I drive a Toyota, but I paid $400 for a Bubba rope. You know, nothing wrong with it. It's made in America. That's what I was looking for. But it sat in my truck. I've never used it. So for $100 sitting in your truck, you could get $300 worth of, I don't know, food for your kids, if you're that kind of person.
And on our website and on my Instagram, you will see we actually got all our ropes, all our gear certified by Certex.
No, I know you did. I wouldn't even.
Well, what I'm saying is most people don't.
I think you've known me long enough. I wouldn't push anybody's stuff that wasn't any good. I know that your stuff was tested. As a matter of fact, you're the only person I've ever seen test a rope where you literally tied your brand new Escalade to a giant tree and tried to break the rope 40 times?
Well, I did with the Escalade. I did it 20 times with the Tacoma.
Oh, my bad.
But the whole point of that was to prove that the airbags don't go off because of the kinetic energy. I didn't even feel it in my back.
The what's it called? I know what you're talking. I can't think of the
kinetic
name.
Energy.
Kinetic motion. The switch in your truck that you think you got to hit something doesn't work like that. I learned that when I got it. So is that the thing that? Well, besides everything else, you're really into fabricating things that don't exist that you can think of.
Yeah.
And you guys are doing it right now.
Yep.
And that's the rock rails?
So my issue with so these are Schrockworks rock rails, which I loved, honestly. They went out of business. They were the widest rock rail I could find. Everything else is usually more narrow. And when I was on the last couple of trails, they weren't even wide enough for me, for my comfort level. Because if you look at a Forerunner, it's bubbly.
Right.
So if you actually look at where this line is, you're this far away from rocks in certain situations. So I wanted a wider rock rail. Couldn't find one, so yeah, we decided to fabricate it. We're still in the process of building it. Here it is. But all DOM, and I made it basically an inch wider than this with a nicer kick out. And now we have a 5 foot by 10 foot plasma table now.
It's sick.
It's sick. So we're gonna be making the plates too on this, and I'm gonna be putting custom logos on them. So
this is exactly how Slee Off-Road started. I talked to Christo. I said, how did you start? He said, there was things that I needed that nobody made. I started making them. I started selling them. So you might be the next Slee Off-Road.
I don't know, but
I hear you.
I just want to solve my problems.
Well, so your design is, I love Metal Tech. I've run Metal Tech for years, but the sliders suck as far as using as a step to get in the truck, and the truck's lifted, so a step would be nice.
Yeah.
The ones you have on there by Shockworks are even better than my Metal Techs, and these are even better, and it's heavier steel.
Yep.
You can weld or clamp them or bolt them to the frame, correct?
Yep.
What does your design protect that this one doesn't?
So it's this part.
Is that something to explain?
I would say. So they stick out further. They stick out an inch further.
So if the truck goes over before this hits, hopefully this will catch first.
Yeah, I mean, like I was on trails where I'm kind of like I have a rock over here, and I'm trying to push the rock. I have to push through the rock. The big boulders. This happened on Rubicon.
Right.
Big boulder this big, and I'm trying to push the boulder away from the truck. I don't have a choice. And I'm like this close to hitting my door, and there's nothing I can do. I got to keep pushing, and it's probably gonna hit my door. Luckily it didn't, but I was super close. If that rock had an extra extra little lip on it, my doors would be gone and I wouldn't have a choice.
Nice.
So I just wanted to keep something further away, because if you look at a Tacoma, for example, or a lot of rigs like the Jeeps, these stick out 3 inches past the doors because Jeeps aren't bubbly, they're flat.
Straight up and down.
The 80 series, same thing, straight up and down.
80s don't bubble like this.
Exactly. So because of the bubble, you need a wider rail. That's what it comes down to.
And let me include, not only are these bigger, heavier, a better step than even this.
Yep.
It's a much more clean aesthetic look, and you can personalize it at the very end with your logo, which is gangster. I mean, nobody does that.
We'll laser cut your logo in there, plasma cut.
I'm second in line. Sandy Cats, Jailbreak Overlander, and then everybody else.
And the kick out, I don't know if you noticed, we made the kick out very clean. Because most kickouts, I don't have kickouts here, but a lot of people have kickouts.
Most kickouts
super bubbly.
Or it's just a cut. It's a cut in the well. Instead of a bend.
I don't like the way they look, so I like this one.
All right, I do too. Well, I saw it when it was mocked up on the truck, and it was game changing, especially with your extended rear axle, which lines up with your 4-inch. 4-inch long travel.
2.75, so 5.5, I guess.
Inches matter, guys. We're white, okay? No offense. All right, that's badass. And I know if I don't come back before next December, which I will, hopefully, you'll have started some sort of armor for the side. 'Cause I know what you're doing, but it's all good. And I'm signing me up. Whatever you're making, I'll just send me the bill. It's all good. All right, so we've looked at the front, underneath, the rear end, the rear suspension, the rear bumper. You've got V-locks on the side, and any leaks?
No leaks.
No leaks at all.
Zero issues at all.
So V-locks, I've gone back and forth with them a couple of times. No bad problems, no issues. But there's certain companies that won't install them on Overlanders because they said they leak. Well, that's the installer. That's not the installation.
100%.
I've never haven't leaked.
I've had these on this truck for at least 2 years before I did this build.
Me 2 years. Me too. Right.
Zero issues.
Yep. All right. And if you've got a rear bumper that's got a swing out of any type, you'll know why having those.
Exactly.
It's everything.
Yep.
As soon as you
100%.
close the back end, it's like, son of a bitch, I forgot something.
Yep.
So, okay. After a week locked in a hotel room, these videos are up and it's over. Now, the final walk around video with everything that it was involved in this. It took me a year to do my final walk around video of my own truck. And I'll explain everything to you in that video. It's been a long road. At any rate, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like, share, and subscribe. And do me a solid. Leave a comment below and I will return the favor. I am out.